Hi there, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me. It's tropical houseplants. Boy oh boy, do I have an exciting video for you today. I also do appreciate that some of the people in the back seats are probably going, oh no, not another unboxing. I do have another unboxing. It's a different one this time round, completely different. And I would apologise, I'm not going to be apologetic. I have not bought plants in over 2 years, I think, at this point, probably close to 3 years. So if I splurge for a bit at the moment, bear with me. So the really interesting thing that I want to look at today in terms of an unboxing is, and I'll pick up the box so you might be able to see it. Anybody recognise the logo? The Rare Plant Shop by Kaylee Ellen. It's been a while since I've actually ordered from Kaylee's shop, I have to say. I have always had great success. I've done, I think, 3 or 4 purchases so far from Kaylee Ellen's shop, and I did it when it was first starting up as well. I think a lot of the plants that I actually got was before she even moved premises as well. So I think this is the first order that I've had since she's moved into new premises, and considering that that happened a while back, I think pandemic times. But the other reason why I think this unboxing is going to be a bit of an exciting and interesting one is because it's not just a regular plant haul from a plant shop. This was a collaboration that the Rare Plant Shop and the plant rescuer, Sarah, did, and this is one of the Rare Plant Shop's rescue boxes. It has literally just arrived today. I have taken off details because internet, and I don't need my details out there for the world. But yeah, I thought let's look at it together. So a bit of background on what the concept is as well, because as far as I'm aware, this is only being done in the UK for a few companies. So I know the Rare Plant Shop is one that has done it recently. I know Sarah and the Plant Rescuer have also worked with another UK company called Grow Tropicals, and I think they do them on a regular basis. Whether or not the Rare Plant Shop is going to do them on a regular basis, I don't know. Big shout out to Emma, because Emma's Instagram was the one that kind of popped up and told me and the rest of the world, basically going, oh my God, this is happening. Instantly went on there and just went, you know what, this might be a bit pricey and all these things. It really wasn't. And I do have the website here to just kind of talk through what I saw when I went onto the website and kind of what was on offer, really, essentially. But so the price was 35 Great British pounds. And it's obviously been sold out now because everybody went in and got it quite quickly. I was quite fortunate that I could actually purchase relatively quickly after it went live, and I managed to grab one. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I go to a chiropractor because I've got issues generally with joints and things like that. But I was in the car park waiting to be let in, and it all popped up, and I'm just like, right, before I go into my appointment, buy. And for a price of £35, I do appreciate it's not something that everybody could afford, but it's, for me at least, it was relatively affordable. So I thought, you know what, let's give it a try. I literally thought it was going to be one plant. And I think when I purchased it, I thought it was going to be one plant. And I'm just like, you know what? Based on the quality of the Rare Plant Shop's plants generally, even something that might be struggling, which leads me quite nicely as to what the kind of rescue boxes tend to be, would be good, basically, because what they usually offer is amazing. Again, based on my previous experience. And essentially, it goes on to describe on the website, and obviously I will see if I can link it down below as well. But it's literally the concept behind these rescue boxes is these are plants that might have been struggling, that maybe the retailer wouldn't have been able to sell, they might have been destroyed, or anything along those lines. And what Sarah's doing and the plant rescuer, they're kind of working with these retailers to just kind of say, look, offer these for a bit cheaper instead of getting rid of them, and see if people are willing to take some of these plants that they want. They might not be able to afford them when they're in their full health. and let them, as long as they're aware and they know what they're getting into, they can decide whether or not they want to purchase and nurse these plants back to health. And based on the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, the Grow Tropical side of things, when they did their rescue boxes, it was a great success. I would assume that the Rare Plant Shop just went, you know what, let's give it a try and see what happens. As far as I'm aware, this is the first one that they've ever done. But going on to what the website is saying, the box actually, and I'm really excited to see what's in there, is actually 3 plants. So it's 3 full plants that need a bit of rehab and a bit of TLC, basically. So they're being very clear as to what you might be able to expect when you're getting rescue boxes like this. And as far as I'm aware, the Grow Tropical ones is very similar in terms of what they have on their website. You can expect some cosmetic damage in the form of potentially some yellowing on the leaves or maybe some crisping, potentially less than perfect roots or maybe some minimal roots. So that's something to kind of bear in mind, because sometimes, and Kaylee's quite good at talking about this on her channel a lot of times when she's doing the repot with me, that sometimes things that you think have rooted up really well, and we've done this as well when we're all propagating, where you realize, why have you not got as many roots as I thought you were going to have? Possibly one of those. And potentially the other option might be that it's got kind of smaller growth than would be expected. And again, that is something to be aware of it going into it. I'm not going to say it's a risk, because I've had plants that came to me and they were tiny, and they're now some of my biggest plants. So yeah. However, the Rare Plant Shop and Grow Tropicals, I remember reading this, and I would imagine this is something that a lot of people would be interested in, is that the plants are pest free. So at least you're not going to be dealing with pests. You might be dealing with any of the other issues that we're talking about now, but you're not going to be dealing with a plant that is in the rescue pile because of pests, if that makes sense. The interesting thing as well, and this was something that I hadn't seen until after I placed the order, because I have got 0 attention span, is that there is a potential bonus chance to win an extra plant with any one of these orders, basically. So it's specifically what the website says is, bonus, every box purchase has the chance to win one of the prize plants below. And the prize plants below that it's talking about is a Spiritus Sancti, a Monstera aurea, a Spathiphyllum ghost, a Philodendron Whipple Way, a Microsorum telandicum, which is the oil slick fern, if I'm not mistaken, and Haley's Anthurium, the dark boy, the mystery dark boy, basically. So that's really, really cool. And the potential plants that we might see in this box, and I will get to the unboxing. The people that have been here for a while know that I like my long intros. Hopefully I've added chapters down below, so if you do not want to hear me prattle on, you've probably already skipped. But the potential options that we might see in there. So, and some of these I've already got, and I knew this going in, and knowing my luck, probably all 3 plants will be plants that I've already got, and I'll make decisions at that point as well. One of the things I also want to do in this video, if at all possible, somebody made a comment on one of the other unboxings, I think it was one of the Ecuagenera updates, which is a very valid comment actually, is that some of you maybe might want to see what I do when I get these plants in terms of rehabbing and all these things. I would assume with some of these I'm going to have to do some rehab, so I might see about doing it on this video and see how I would do it and talk you through what my process would be. So anyway, sorry, coming back to the list of plants, stay on topic memo. So there is the Philodendron Plowmanii, of which I've already got 2. I think I'm probably about to make it 3. Philodendron Paraiso Verde. I don't think I've got this. I've got Jose Bueno. Philodendron Splendid. I have got my mother plant and several propagates. Again, this is the one that I think I might end up getting. Philodendron Bilietiae, which I do have. I wouldn't mind a second one. The Philodendron Jerry Horn, I do not have. I would love. The Philodendron Holtonianum, and considering that I got, I can never remember the name of the one that I got recently from Ecuagenera, but I will add it at the top, which was a dupe for that one. I would love to get the Holtonianum. Philodendron Pink Princess, again, chance of me getting that one. Philodendron Burley Marks Variegata. Now, Considering that my big one is no longer with me and I just recently potted up some of its propagates, and the original Philodendron Burleymarks variegata was from the Rare Plant Shop and Kaylee Ellen, I would not mind getting this again. So that's okay. That's fond memories. Then we have the Philodendron Dark Lord. I do have the Dark Lord down there, and I've got the propagate of a Dark Lord here. Love Dark Lord. Anthurium forgetii, I have got one that has been on the struggle bus recently, but it's on the way back, so if I get a better version, then I'm alright with that. Anthurium crystallinum, I have got that already, but I've got a hybrid, so I would like to see the true form if it is one. Anthurium magnificum, I do not have, so that might be an interesting one. Anthurium regal, I do have mine, and even though it was doing really well, and I will link the review video here that I did from it, let me tell you now, it looks nothing like that review video because it's another one of my Anthuriums and I find it peaks and then it goes downhill and then it's starting to go up again now and eventually it will peak again and it will just be this roller coaster of emotions. But based on a lot of other people that I know that have got the Anthurium regal, I think I'm not the only one that experiences this, so it'd be interesting. And then, this isn't the plant I have wanted for the last 4 to 5 years. I've wanted it since its previous name. But I doubt I'm going to get it. I'm not a lucky person to get kind of situations like this with luck as a draw. So the Monstera Esqueleto. I have wanted one of those forever. And I do know before everybody says they have become a bit more easily available, but usually they're much smaller and they're unrooted cuttings or kind of really, really small. I've always wanted to get one that starts with a relatively large leaf to get going relatively quickly. So I don't know. I doubt I've got any of the ones that I want. I've probably just got doubles of what I've already got, but I'm okay with that. We're coming into the right time of the year to be rehabbing plants. It should be a lot easier. Not that you would know today. It's a very grey. It is currently chucking it down, and I'm really hoping that that isn't coming up across on the video. I'm also hoping there's not going to be any more lightning. There was lightning a few minutes ago, so. And sorry, the other thing I meant to say is this is a list of what potentially could be in here as well. The website does say it is not limited to these either, so there might be some surprises. And I think that's it basically. So I'll put this away and enough of the prattling on. Shall we unbox? It feels lightish, but they always do feel quite light because the way that the packaging is done. I've got a table in front of me, so I will be doing this probably off screen of just opening the box. Well, actually, you know what? Let's try doing this on screen and let me put my foot against things. Also, I highly doubt that Kaylee Ellen's going to watch this video, but if you do, Kaylee, and I know that you posted a while back that when you were packaging this, there was something wrong with your back or like you weren't feeling particularly well and you were kind of tied up in bed for a while. I hope you're feeling better, by the way. I know it's a pain when things like that happen, so hopefully you are feeling better. Right, let's have a look. So for anybody who hasn't ordered, that's what it looks like. There is the logo at the very top, and that's the top section there. Oh, the big bubble wraps. I do love a big bubble wrap. Right, let's have a look. I think I can peek some in here. I may have got my wish with some of these, which is surprising. Right, I think one, I was probably right. But two, I may have got my wish. Unfortunately, from what I can see, it's not the Esqueleto, so another day. Right, let's have a look. So I'll show you the plants there. And let me try unboxing. Oh, the roots are all wrapped up together. Oh, no, I think, yeah, I don't think it was the one that I thought it was. Okay, so I am curious Is there? No. I was curious to see if there's going to be any form of an update in terms of what everything is. One of the things I can definitely tell what it is. The others, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, no! With the exception of one of these plants, I don't have the other two, which is cool. Um, so I thought I'd have two of the three, but I think one I do not have, basically. So let me have a look. Packaging. Roots are good, and roots roots are bare root at the moment, which is great because these are all going to go into semi-hydro. Because anybody who's been here for a while knows that at this point, I predominantly will put into that. And it's mainly, don't get me wrong, I do miss the days where I could plant in soil, but I travel too much back home and I usually go for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. It's too much of a challenge to do the level of watering that I'd need to do with my soil plants or my aroid mix plants and ask somebody who's taking care of my plants to do the same. So the semi-hydro and kind of things that are in cache pots or even water reservoirs are just generally for the people that are easier for the people that are looking after my plants. These are really well packaged in terms of the roots. I'm trying to not disturb the roots too much. Right. Okay, so I'll bring up the roots like I usually do with these videos so you can have a look at them. So everything is together. I'm going to need to take some of these apart and then we can kind of have a look at why they're in the rescue box potentially. Okay, so I've unpacked the roots and this is all three plants' roots together. And let's have a look. So first plant, whoa, substantial as well. Like this is a big plant. Right, let me put the box down and let's have a look at this specific plant, which is the one that I thought initially, because I saw the backs of the leaves and I wasn't really paying attention to the shape, I thought this was the Dark Lord, because when all you can see is the backs like that, and I'm just like, oh, it's a Dark Lord. I have a sneaky suspicion, and correct me if you've got this plant and you don't think it is, I think, and I don't think this was on the list, this was one of the, and not kind of limited to, I think, and you can see the roots there and there, and I would imagine this is what Kaylee Ellen meant by the roots aren't kind of probably where that she would want it to be before she sold it on. There's also a tiny bit of cosmetic damage on the leaf there, and it definitely came to the right person because I really do not care about cosmetic damage as long as the plant is healthy. So, and this is a very, very healthy plant. It's looking a bit limp and there is a bit more cosmetic damage there. That's fine. None of these things are a deal breaker for me, especially not for that kind of price. And the aerial roots, for days. I think this is a Philodendron atabapoense. I think. Because, yeah, it does look a lot like, essentially, as far as I'm aware, the atabapoense is very similar to the Bilietiae, but with red backs. And looking at what these leaves look like in terms of shape, they do look a lot like my Bilietiae's younger leaves with red backs. And it's actually quite impressive. I have to say, this is quite decent. This is a definitely gonna need a janky support stick for the win. It might even get chopped and propped, but I want this to stabilize first after it's been in my care for a while, and then I'll decide what I want to do it. But I think this is very cool. So first one, starting off really nicely. I'll probably do a video in the very end of what I'm going to do with them in terms of the care, and we'll do that as the wrap up basically. The second plant, and this is the one that I do have, and ironically enough, my leaf is now bigger than this one leaf that this one has, but this, if I'm not mistaken, yes, I'm pretty sure, is a forgetii. Let me see if I can cover my face so it can focus. This is a forgetii. The roots are okay. This is probably, so normally what I would do with this is I would put it straight into a semi-hydro mix. I was going to say, I don't know whether or not this is going to need some sphagnum moss. However, I might just put this as a bit of an experiment into my usual coarse semi-hydro mix from the guys at Soil Ninja and see how it goes. I mean, the roots are good. There's nothing to write home about. And there is definitely some cosmetic damage on the leaf. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But it seems like a decent leaf. It's fine. Is it on the struggle bus? Yes. Do I mind? No. So, especially for the prices that I got all three of these plants together. Very, very, very cool. Before I put it down, and let me pick up the last one, which I think I know what the last one is. I think, based on the roots in one of Kaylee's older videos at this point, and looking at the leaf shape, I would imagine this, and looking at it there, and looking at that shape specifically, is a Philodendron Jerry Horn, which is kind of cool. This is one that I was hoping I might get. And the roots are really, really good with this. I'm trying to figure out what the issue is with this. It might just be that the growth is a bit odd, and it's obviously branching off. Here was the original cut, and it went off the side. Is it a bit leggy? Possibly. I don't really know how the Jerry Horn likes to grow. The leaf feel is very cool on this one. And I don't know if there's something on it. I might see if I spray it basically. But it kind of feels leathery, but there's a slight softness to this. This is very cool. And I think the stickiness that I'm getting as well might be because, yeah, I think there's extra floral nectaries all over this. But this I'm very, very happy with. This is very, very cool. I mean, look at this. So yeah, am I happy with the purchase? Yeah, 100%. Let me put this down. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was expecting, if not a lot better than I was expecting, to be fair. Out of all of them, I think the one that's going to be on the struggle bus for the longest is probably going to be the forgetii, which is fine. But on that point, let me go and get bits and bobs so we can pop things up together. So the first thing I'm going to say specifically about the forgetii, which has got the root system as it is, none of this, by the way, has got any form of root rot, as far as I can see, which is good. Some of the roots are weak, yes, and that's absolutely fine. But the thing I was going to say, if you look at the size of the pot that this is going to be placed into with the semi-hydro mix, it isn't particularly large, but there isn't a lot of roots there anyway. So just bear that in mind. And it's going to be very similar with the rest of them. So what I like to do is I like to find the pots that these things are going to go in. Most of these are feeling quite plump, and none of them seem particularly stressed. Today hasn't been a particularly cold day. It's been a miserable grey day, and it's been wet. British or weather. But yeah, it's one of those things that with this, make sure that the pot is right. And the one that probably is going to surprise a lot of people is, in an ideal world with something with only that much root system, I would probably put it in something very similar to what I'm putting this in, but I don't have anything that small at the moment because otherwise it's going to stay wet for way too long. And considering that this is a philodendron, these roots are a bit on the fine side versus an anthurium. That's what I mean by that, by the way. But it's okay. This one, and because it's as tall as it is going to be a tricky one in terms of the size of pot that I'm going to need to give it. I have got a sneaky suspicion of what it might end up being. is just that the support stick is going to be doing the mostest. And then for something this sizable, it will probably just end up in a pot that is about that size, basically. With anything that's like this, and generally speaking, the people that have been here for a while will know this, and they've probably seen this on my channel, and it's surprised a few of you enough to make comments. I tend to keep the pots for most of my plants quite small. So something to bear in mind there as well. I find, not that I necessarily advocate for this, most of this is just my laziness, but I find that if I keep them a bit more constricted, they tend to do a bit better. I mean, to be fair, can you see the Esmeraldense behind me? Huge, yeah? Its pot is not much larger than this. And that is in soil, but I'm still only watering it once every 5 to 7 days. If it's fine, just let it be. That's what I always say. The other element that I'm going to do, and I'm trying to think now, I wanted to show some of this onto the camera, but it's really difficult. I want to be able to rinse my semi-hydro mix, and it's going to make a lot of noise, so I might do that and come back. But I don't know if you can see on that leaf and a lot of the other ones, there's a white cast, and I think it's very similar to what you get sometimes when you order from Ecogenera, and it might just be some potentially pesticide, just to make sure that if there is any chance of anything being on there, there isn't anymore. But what I do want to get is get that off the leaf. So what I'm going to go and pot this up now, I'm also going to run this under the tap and just give it a bit, just with my hand, just a bit of a stroke. Just to clear off some of that bit. I don't want to do anything harsh to it, basically. And then I'll pot it up and come back. Okay, and the first one is now done. So that is the forgetii again. But I want to show you one of the things that I always like to do, if at all possible. Let me just cover my face there. Can you see the roots on that? Obviously clear pots if I can. My semi-hydro mix is easier for me to see, but it doesn't have to be. You can do it with the soil mixes as well. And for some things like an Anthurium that does have chunky roots, I want it to be touching some of that plastic as much as possible, because I want to be able to see, especially when there isn't that many roots with it, I want to be able to spot if there's any sign of really urgent distress, that I can kind of quickly see it, remove it, and rehab it in a different way, basically. So that is one. Let's go and deal now with the Jerry Horn. And essentially what this is going to be, this is pretty straightforward. That is just going to go into that pot. And I really cannot see anything. Oh, you know what? Wow. This is impressive. Although I get some people might have an issue with this, basically. There is the tiniest of rips there. Like, I'm okay with that. Really, I am. But let me just pop this up and I will be right back. Right, and this is as far as I'm aware, the Jerry Horn, and it's all potted up. And I've done the same thing that I did with my Anthurium, and hopefully you might be able to see. You can see the roots in there, and for the eagle-eyed, support stick for the win, because I need this to not flop around as much and go as high up as I can possibly put it. Where I'm going to put these plants now is an entirely different story. And finally, let's go and deal with the less than ideally rooted atabapoense, which is, considering, that's impressive, but let's go and deal with this, shall we? Okay, and back now with the tiniest little clear pot with holes. You might be able to see there, and you can see the roots, and I've put in some of the aerial roots in as well there, just to see if we can stimulate some growth from those. Of the atabapoense, I'm pretty sure. And you can see some of the leaves there, they've got some bleaching and things like that, but rescue box. Really, really, really good. And for the people that have been here for long enough, I have learned, and I was going to put a shorter support stick. I put a longer one this time around as well. I don't know where I'm going to put this now with the long support stick, but it also then gives it a bit of extra space to go. Because the amount of times I'm just like, this support stick fits perfectly, because the plant is obviously never going to grow taller than that. And what am I going to do then other than just adding another support stick on? So hopefully learning from my mistakes. But let's do some of my final thoughts on purchase, process, everything. Overall, really good. I have to say I'm very happy to see more and more companies doing this. There's obviously a demand for it because obviously when these things come up onto the market, they tend to go quite quickly because there's a demand for a lot of these plants, and there is that kind of mystery box element to it as well, which is really cool. And obviously it helps to kind of really drive home the point that Sarah is always trying to make with the plant rescuer is try not to get rid of plants that might only have just some cosmetic damage. It takes these plants a lot of money, a lot of energy, all of these things to get here. They're not the greenest thing in the world to get to, believe it or not. They are green, but green in terms of environmentally friendly, in terms of air miles and all of these things, and changing hands all over around, just so that something could end up composted or binned because there's a tear on a leaf, or because there's a crispy leaf, or because the roots are less than ideal, or because there's a bit of bleaching on the leaves. Question to all of you, haven't we all had that at one point or another with plants in our existing collections that we have then tried to rehab? I know most people don't necessarily want to go through the headache of doing it, but then at least with things like these mystery boxes, you have the option not to buy. Nobody's forcing you, basically. For the people who do like it, who might not have the budget, who are a bit more kind of conscious of that kind of environmental impact, this is a great way to kind of get involved, essentially. But yeah, enough of me prattling on. This video has taken a lot longer to film because of all the getting the plants sorted and stuff like that. I need to actually go and do some work today because this has happened in the middle of my work day. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon, and I truly, truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.